Hey, Jerson, what are you doing in there?
Hey, I'm just taking the spark plugs out.
Why?
Because I just want to make a, a compression test right here because it's not in right here,
If we do the compression test, what's that going to tell us?
Well, maybe we want to know if there is a good engine or not before you pay it.
Okay, great idea. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it before you come in.
I think Jerson's got a really good point here. We want to find out if this engine's any good before we, make an offer on this car to Ari. But even then, we're going to show you some things that you should know. If you're going out to buy a used engine, you can really save a lot of money, but you need to make sure that used engine is in good condition, or you're going to be worse off than before, because you'll be out not only the cost of the engine, but all the labor to put it in the car. So I'm going to show you a few things that you should look for. Ideally, I know this is ideal, but if you can at all get an engine that you can hear run and check it out before you pull it out of the car to put in yours, you're going to be way better off. So the first thing we're going to do before wasting any more time is we're going to do a compression test on this engine to see just what the internal health of it is like. So what'd you find out, Jerson? We got to hurry. Ari's going to be back here in about a half hour.
This compression test, I find out every single cylinder compression test, and this 165.
160? Are you kidding me?
Yes, 165.
Oh, wow.
And so I make sure, that I put the right hose in there and make sure there's the seal in there to not, have any leaks out. So everything is, the same reading on the cylinder.
And you made sure that you had each one cranked 6 times, so you had a balanced test.
Yes,
okay,
I did, yeah.
So I'm looking at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all of them at 165 psi. Wow.
That's exactly what came out. So I think these engines have been rebuilt.
Okay, well, don't tell Ari, okay?
No, we won't.
Okay.
I'll be quiet.
Well, man, you talk about good news. That is really good compression on a used engine. Now, whether this engine's been rebuilt, we don't know. It could be a engine that had been pulled out of another car, a low mileage engine out of a wreck. I think it's probably a low mileage wrecking yard engine, because it looks like it was installed in a wrecking yard when you saw the modification to those transmission cooler lines. They were kind of hacked, okay? But once I do a compression test, even if I get an engine that is out of the car and it's used, I will do a compression test with the engine sitting on the ground. You can literally get the starter hooked up, get a battery hooked up to it, and crank it over and do that compression test. That's number one. Once that passes, then I go after the visual inspection. And the first thing I do is pull this oil filler cap off and look down in there. If you've got a lot of sludge and crud build up in there, you might want to think twice about using that engine. But I'm looking down in here, and it looks like a engine with 10,000 miles on it, so clean. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to pull the valve cover off to get a really close look at it. But I am really impressed with how this looks inside the valve train here. Then the next visual inspection is oil leaks. Oil leaks will give you a pretty good clue what kind of mileage is on the engine, particularly the front crank seal, the rear crank seal, and on these 103 and 104 engines, the head gasket, the dreaded, should I say, head gasket leak. And this passes the oil leak. There's just a very light wetness here on that head gasket, and in my book, that's acceptable for a 103 engine. So we've got pass, 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 and the final couple tests that I do on an engine. Now, these are the tests that you do if you can get it running. We're going to do a blow-by test, a power test, and a smoke test. And we'll do those later when we roll this car out and get it outside, and then I'm going to show you the results to those tests as well. If they all pass, we got a winner here. But don't tell Ari. So Ari, how was lunch?
Oh, it was great. I went and had a burger. I'm back all refreshed, ready to rock.
Oh, great. I'm glad you made it back okay. Hey, what are you doing in there now?
I'm just taking these mirrors out and some random, the switches weren't working for my seats in the 16 valves.
You think they're okay?
Well, yeah, we tested these and they work fine. The power seats and everything are great.
Oh man, I've been thinking, were you serious about wanting to sell me the rest of the car?
Yeah, I definitely think about selling it, but it's gonna have to be for the right price.
Well, look, Okay, but every part you take off this car from here on out, you know, is making this car less valuable. You got that, right?
Okay, okay.
So I kind of thought about it while you were out to lunch, you know. I'm not sure whether I can use anything on this car, but how about 150 bucks?
You want 150 for this? You can sell just the door handles for probably 75 bucks.
Oh, well, okay, I'll keep thinking about it.
Yeah, come back at me later and we'll see if we can work something out.
Okay. Okay, all the bolts are loose on the valve cover. I'm ready to pull this thing off. Let's see what we have inside. Oh, look at that. My, oh my. Look at how clean this is. This has to be by far the cleanest 103 engine I've ever looked inside. Look at, it looks like either this engine has had the head off and rebuilt, or this is a very low mileage engine. It's certainly not an engine with 180,000 miles that indicated on the speedometer. So if this doesn't pass the visual test, I don't know what will. Now it's on to getting this car outside and doing the final engine run test before we make the decision whether or not to keep this engine. But I'm feeling pretty good at this point. Okay, the engine's warmed up, it's idled down. You can see I've removed the air cleaner. And what we're looking for is engine blow-by, right here through the breather. This is what you want to check. Make sure the engine is hot, and then let it idle. And you're checking for excessive blow-by. If you see a lot of pressure here, a lot of smoke coming out, that's a bad sign. Now this passes the breather test. There's one more test that we look at. Obviously, if the engine were smoking a lot, you'd probably have low compression. But I do a test to just see how the health of the valve guides and valve guide seals are. Let me explain that next. Here's how to test for excessive valve guide wear or seal wear, and that's going to show up right here at the exhaust. Now I tried to film it today, but it's like 30 degrees outside here, and there's too much just moisture in the exhaust system to really be able to demonstrate this. But I did this the other day and it passed fine. And here's what you want to do. You want to start the engine up, let it get hot, and then let it sit and idle. I mean, idle is slow as it can be, because at real low idle, that produces a high vacuum, and any oil can be sucked down through those valve guide seals into the combustion chamber, and it will just collect there. Once again, let the car idle for about 10 minutes. Then what you do is you come out, you get in the car, and you floor it. If you have a big blue cloud of smoke and then it goes away, that probably means you have worn valve guides or valve guide seals. Now that's not an engine killer, but it does help to determine whether you're going to have to do any work on the engine in the future. So this engine passes with flying colors. Now, the next challenge is to see if we can sneak this engine away from Ari and then find a good donor car to put it in. So Ari, have you had a chance to think over my offer for this car here?
Yeah, you know, I've been thinking, and I just can't take that low offer you
Well, I'll
gave
tell you what, I've decided, you know, I'd be willing to sweeten the pot, okay?
Okay.
How about 150 bucks, and I have this heavy duty, we're talking 3/4 inch impact wrench here that I'll throw in on the deal. Now this is an amazing
Ooh, now that
deal.
sounds like a really good deal. Those things aren't cheap, I know that.
Okay, do we have a deal?
Okay, let's go for it. That sounds pretty good.
All right, let's shake on it.